Chapter 13 is entitled The Guiltless World, and in this new CE edition it's called Release from Guilt. We'll start in the introduction, but in the CE it starts in section 1, which is the world of guilt. If you did not feel guilty, you could not attack, for condemnation is the root of attack. This thing, attack can be hidden and disguised in various forms. Comedy, most comedy, if not all comedy, is an attack hidden in a way to cause most to react with laughter, with thinking something is funny. But it's not funny because it's an attack. It is not gentle laughter. It is an attack on another body, on another personality, on another race, on another gender, whatever. So it can be hidden. But what is it? It is guilt. The root of attack in any form is condemnation. And condemnation is attack because it is guilt. Guilt, the idea that there can be anything but the innocence of the Father, Son, is guilt. And from that thought, there must be attack. There must be condemnation. That's why you can't hide it. It will come out. When the light comes, it's going to be seen for what it is. It won't be funny, and it won't be hidden. Nothing will be hidden. It is the judgment of one mind by another as unworthy of love and deserving of punishment. But herein lies the split. For the mind that judges perceives itself as separate from the mind being judged, believing that by punishing another it will escape punishment. See, this is the mob mentality. You ever see when somebody does something goofy, stupid, or is being picked on for some error? And it's hidden later on in life, but children don't hide this. They haven't learned to hide it yet. What will they do? They'll all laugh and mock and they'll all point. In other words, you're different. We're together because we're all laughing and pointing, but you're different. You deserve to be excluded from this group, to be mocked, to be condemned, to be attacked, to be perceived as separate. What a goof. We ain't ever talking to him again. Did you see what he did? See, that's exclusion. That's attack. It's attacking wholeness or holiness. And this is where the split comes in. So now we believe, based on what we have seen with our eyes, that we can exclude, we can split the mind, thinking that there's something outside of ourself, out of the one mind. And believing, too, see, that power comes in, hey, I'm glad he's getting it, because if he's getting it, I'm not. So I'm protected here. So I'll associate with the victors. I'll associate with this group right now because this is the safe place. When you see pictures, say, World War II, the Holocaust, and you ask yourself, how could they have watched this happen and not do anything? It's what would happen right here. That's them. I'm glad it's not me. So I'm going to act like I'm with the them, not with the he that's getting beat up in the street, because I believe I've escaped the punishment. All this is but the delusional attempt of the mind to deny itself and escape the penalty of denial. It is not an attempt to relinquish denial, but to hold on to it. For it is guilt that has obscured the Father to you, and it is guilt that has driven you insane. So we're trying to deny ourselves by holding on to the denial of the Father. So we deny the Father, we deny ourselves, but we think that's the safest place. So guilt becomes safe because guilt obscures the Father. But at the same time, the split mind is an insane mind, so it has driven us insane with this idea of guilt. The acceptance of guilt into the mind of God's Son was the beginning of the separation, as the acceptance of the atonement is its end. The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt. See, it's a guilty world. The unnatural world is a guilty world. The real world is an innocent world because there's no separation. There is no denial in it. There's only total inclusion. There's no exclusion because there's no sin and there's no error and there's no bodies. Therefore, nothing's happening. So how could there be an error? There can't be. We're only looking upon that which is real. in the real world. That's why he calls it the real world. But everything else, this other world, is a system of mind, a system of thought, rooted in guilt, and has become a delusional system, a thought system that made a world real that doesn't even exist. Look carefully at this world, and you will realize that this is so. For this world is the symbol of punishment, and all the laws that seem to govern it are the laws of death. Children are born into it through pain and in pain. Their growth is attended by suffering, and they learn of sorrow and separation and death. Their minds seem to be trapped in their brain, and its powers to decline. If their bodies are hurt, they seem to love, yet they desert and are deserted. They appear to lose what they love, perhaps the most insane belief of all. And their bodies wither and gasp and are laid in the ground and are no more. Not one of them but has thought that God is cruel. See, you have to admit this. You can't deny. No one, not one of them, doesn't think God is cruel. If you're in that world, you think God is cruel. I don't care what your religious idea is. It's interesting. You've got very religious people. You get them in a hospital when they've had surgery and put them on dope, where they're out of their ability to manipulate this craziness, and the truth comes out. Their real thoughts come out. And it's F you and F God too. That's usually what comes out. And well, they're just not in their right mind. No, they weren't in their right mind when they were denying it. At least they're admitting the reality of what they're believing, because they're believing that God is cruel. If this were the real world, God would be cruel. For no father could subject his children to this as the price of salvation and be loving. Love does not kill to save. See, that's why Christianity, I studied it. I gave it 25, 30 years. I could not resolve it. I couldn't resolve the inconsistencies. I could not resolve that I love my children more than the Father loves his. That can't be with what I'm preaching. And then Jesus comes, and he dies for us. So now he gives his son, supposedly, kills him. So now he's got me believing in human sacrifice. That's what it would be, right? Human sacrifice. And that still doesn't work, because I'm still thinking, oh, heaven, I'll just be looking at those holes in his hands and holes in his feet. We'll just worship Jesus for saving our sorry asses for the rest of eternity. I'm not interested. That's wacky. Love does not kill to save. Love is life. Life is not death. It doesn't know anything about death. God doesn't know anything about death or suffering or killing, but we do. Love does not kill to save. If it did, attack would be salvation, and this is the ego's interpretation, not God's. See, attack is salvation. You listen to most preachers. They're attacking something. They're attacking somebody, some system, some other church, some sin, thinking if I just keep yelling about this, we'll get to heaven out of this. No, you won't. And then the ones that try to preach heaven, try to preach that sin. Gosh, if he said he took away the sin of the world and he took it away, oh, that's blasphemy. So you can't win in that system, because it's a system of attack. It's a system of punishment. Only the world of guilt could demand this, for only the guilty could conceive of it. Adam's, quote, sin could have touched no one had he not believed it was the Father who drove him out of paradise. See, who wrote the book? Who wrote Genesis? A man. I don't care who. An Adam, a human. The idea of a body, of a mind trapped in a body, wrote that book. And it's got about 3 different versions of what happened in it. It's not only in duality, I think it's in triality as to what occurred there. But I'll tell you this, there's a couple things that this course tells us about. It says he went to sleep, but nowhere does it say he ever woke up. That's one thing. And the other thing I can tell you about is that nowhere in that book does it ever say that God is keeping them out of the garden. It doesn't say he kicked them out. It says they left. Why would they leave? Guilt. Adam, where are you? As if God wouldn't know where he was. Adam, where are you? Oh, we messed up. We're hiding. We suddenly had self-reality here, and we began to look at our little self and our little body here, and we saw ourselves as naked and weak and ashamed. Oh, who told you that? Oh, this thought over here. It wasn't my thought. It was this thought. It was this serpent thing. Well, it was her first. And then she said it's the serpent. See, there's all the separation. Why do we separate? So we have people to blame. We have identities to blame. So that we can project the guilt to think that we're safe. All it said was, if you want to return to the garden, you're going to have to go through the flaming sword or whatever, the angel with the flaming sword, through the light. You're in darkness. You're outside reality. You got to come back into light. Come to the altar. You can come right in. Oh, we can't go. Obviously, if there's a light there, we can't go there. It must be that we're out. That's your interpretation. That's your choice. For in that belief, the knowledge of the Father was lost, since only those who do not understand him could believe it. This world is a picture of the crucifixion of God's Son. And until you realize that God's Son cannot be crucified, this is the world you will see. Yet you will not realize this until you accept the eternal fact that God's Son is not guilty. He deserves only love because he has given only love. He cannot be condemned because he has never condemned. The atonement is the final lesson he need learn, for it teaches him that, never having sinned, he has no need of salvation. That's where this course leads you to. I don't need forgiveness. You don't need forgiveness. Why? We never sin. We're still loving. We're loved, loving, and lovable. We're still in knowledge in heaven. Not one note was missed. We're still increasing and unifying and extending and integrating and creating our creations and loving our creations in total communication with them. That is the transition.